Access to clean drinking water is an issue on dozens of First Nations in Canada. Jamuna Galay-Tamang tackled the topic during her Canadian Association of Journalists Fellowship with APTN Investigates. She joins us from Vancouver to talk about her episode, Colonial Tea. Jamuna, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us what made you decide to do this story about access to safe drinking water?
Hi, Dennis. Hi, thanks. Yeah, I decided to do water just because it's so basic. It's you need it to live. It's something that impacts your daily life, and so it just felt like an easy topic to just feel really passionate about. And right now, there are 69 First Nations communities, reserves that don't have access to clean drinking water, and so the government's made a promise that they're going to end all these long-term drinking water advisories by 2021, and I think the media's responsibility and the responsibility of a piece like this is to just make sure that they follow through with that promise.
As you mentioned, dozens of communities on boil water advisories. Why choose Pikangikum?
Pikangikum kind of happened by chance. I come from BC, and I had mentioned to a friend that I was interested in doing a piece about water, and she just happened to come across this photo on Facebook and shared it with me. And it was a photo of the water tap that people go to in Pikangikum to collect their drinking water. And it just struck me as this really good example of a place that not only is on a long-term drinking water advisory, but also doesn't have access to running water to most of their homes. Right. And so, we're dealing with the long-term advisories, but is it okay with Canadians that a lot of First Nations reserves also do not have running water to their homes? And are we going to do something about that as well?
And so what did you find when you got to Pikangikum?
Yeah, so, just found out that the issue is way more complex than simply access to running water or even just clearing up a long-term advisory. Like, everything within a small community is so interrelated, and something that's impacting one thing can have a ripple effect to many other things. And so it wasn't just about drinking. It was, in the case of Pikangikum, it turned out that power was a really big contributing factor to the advisory. And so, and one other thing that's worth noting is that when I got to Pikangikum, I came in with a pretty clear idea that I wanted to talk about water and access to water, and these are my questions were around water. And when I was talking to people, and particularly elders, they were very kind and gracious and answered my questions about water, but the areas where they seemed to have more to say was around, mental wellness and this, the sad rate of suicide in their communities. Because I guess what you see is that, or what it made me think of is that, access to water, or the fact that they're getting drinking water from the lake, is just something that they've been dealing with for so long that it's not something they think about. Whereas, the mental wellness is something that really impacts the community. And so it just brought me to the question of whether access to water is related to mental health, and I asked some experts about this, and you'll find out more about that in the documentary.
Well, Jamuna, looking forward to finding out more. The previews look good. Thanks so much for joining us to talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dennis.